Okay, so I've got my fabric cut out, and we've got 2 pieces for the outside of the bag, and then 2 pieces for the lining, and then I've got my 4 pieces for the zipper panel inside and out, and then 2 pieces for the handle. Now, I know in the video I uploaded of the original lady who designed this, whose design that we're borrowing and altering a little bit, she just used 2 fabrics. Let's see, how was it she done? I think she just had 2 for the outside, and then everything else, the lining and this, was a coordinating fabric. And you can do it that way as well, or you can do everything out of the same fabric. What I recommend is just pick you out something pretty and buy this for the outside. You would need 1/2 yard to do these 2 panels. That's going to be the outside that shows. And then you can just get something that coordinates for the zipper panels. That'll be 2 on the outside and 2 on the inside. But when you unzip the bag, you can kind of see the inside ones because they're there at the top. And then 2 for the handles. And that can be a coordinating fabric, which is a little less than 1/2 yard for all of that. Then this lining, I would just get some plain cotton, inexpensive cotton, or like I said, something you have around the house. This was just something I had in my upholstery room. It blended with this good enough, and it's an inexpensive fabric. And since my lining is not going to show, it's just for the inside to seal it up. You'd only see it if you unzip the purse and was looking down in there. There's no sense in you paying for a more designer fabric like you did for the outside. And once again, it's 1/2 yard for this. So you need roughly 1.5 yards for the whole project. Once again, I did 1/2 yard of this nice fabric, 1/2 yard for the zipper panels and straps, and 1/2 yard for the lining. And it was a little bit less on each, a few inches shy, but I mean, that's the easiest way to measure and buy it when they're cutting it off. And that's for standard 45-inch wide fabric. If you're getting wider fabric than that, you might can get by with even less. You wouldn't be able to on these because that's just how long they are this way. They're roughly 15 inches long, so 18 inches is 1/2 yard. Okay, now, I'm trying to be good, so this one right here is a little bit wrinkled, so I'm going to go ahead and iron it real quick, my lining, because it's a cotton. And, oh, I got the steamer option on here. Let me take it off to iron. I don't hardly ever use this little iron just for things like this when I need to be at the table. That just ironed out really quick there. That is one thing I have done better about since teaching y'all, is I have made myself iron, and my projects have come out so much better, so much more professional looking. I wished I'd have learned to do that years ago. Okay, let's see. I guess I ironed both of them at the same time, so that's good. Okay, now the lady recommended, whew, if I'm not messing up my table finish, I should have put a towel down. She recommended that we iron. Well, I think she done it by hand, but you could obviously tell that's what she done full time was sew. So for somebody that's just you know, a beginner or whatever, or just me, just because I'm trying to be a little bit neater, I'm going to fold each side of my strap over and iron it so that it will be a nice crisp line when I sew it. Now, in her video, she recommended folding one side a little shorter than the other so that when you folded it over, it didn't quite meet. And then she was going to sew really, really close right there to the edge to make a really tight, flat seam. I've never done that before, and that was kind of curious to me when I saw her doing it, but I'm going to try it this time. Normally what I would do, well, you know how I showed y'all to sew it and then turn it right side out? That's an option, and that's a nice, neat option, but for people that are in a hurry, that is rather annoying, and that was what she brought up in her video. So you can do it that way. You can make your strap that way, the way we've already done, or you can just iron it and fold it. You can do it exactly in half, which is how I normally do it, and then you just sew it together on the edge, or you can do it like she said in the video and how I'm going to try. fold one side over and then fold the other side over slightly more so that when it's folded in half, one side doesn't quite meet the other. And I'm just eyeballing this. I'm not sure if in her video she told the measurements or not, but it looks like a little less than a 1/2 inch on one side and a little more than 1/2 inch on the other side to me. But like I said, I'm just guessing and eyeballing. Yeah, so that makes it a lot easier to sew when you iron it down there. It makes it a lot neater looking right off the bat. Okay, now let's see how that does about folding it like she said. Okay, so this is how she suggested doing it, was making it a little shy. So see, I don't have my sides quite matching up. I've got one a little shy, and I'm going to try that. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and iron it. That's a step I wouldn't have to do, but that's going to make it even easier on me about sewing because I won't have to fight it. It'll lay down nice and right in its place, and I can just go down through there and make a seam. And I thought it was really neat. That was one thing that made me want to try her project. I thought it was so cool that she made patterns exactly like me out of craft paper. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. So that was neat that somebody else was doing that. Okay. Doing one side, and let me measure that. I said it's a little less than 1/2 inch. Let's see what I've actually got going on here. It's actually, that is actually a little less. Okay, so it's actually, this one is a little less than 3/4 of an inch, and the other one is a little more than 3/4 of an inch. So, I told you I was just guessing. Okay, so ironing that down. And this other one just a tad wider. And they nearly meet. Some places they do. Just iron it down. Okay. Now let me put this somewhere where I won't burn myself, like I did Nicole. Okay. Now let's sew those straps down real quick. Oh, I've got. Okay, so here I am ready to sew this in half to make our strap handle, and I changed my thread out to red, since whatever you sew this handle together with will show. Now for the majority of the project, it's not going to show what colored thread you have, but you will do some top stitching around the zipper panel, and that's going to show, and then this handle, and then of course when you attach your monogrammed letter. So I just went ahead and changed it out with red. It used to not be a big deal to me. I just did my whole project with colored thread, but I am shocked at how much the price of thread has went up to. I used to get it for $4 for $1, and now I just can't believe how much some of the colored thread costs. So got to where I use more of the white thread for the majority of the project and just change out my colored for the top stitch and the stuff that shows. Okay, I don't know if you can see on this or not, but got it folded over, and I'm not quite meeting all the way to the edge. I did it a little shy. So, and then I'm sewing very close to the edge there. I'm going to show it and then I'll show you. And I always sew with my stitch on the longest length because it's faster, and then if you mess up, it's drastically easier to pick out. Okay, there you go. I don't know if you can see the thread or not, but I sewed pretty close to the edge of the fabric, and then turning it over, that's about how far it is from the edge. So that's my strap. Let me make my other one real quick, and then I've got to go get Creston. He's home from work, so I got to go get him, and then we'll come back and finish the project. Okay, do y'all know what I've already messed up? I forgot to put my interfacing in these straps. See how limp they are? Oh, sometimes I just want to scream. I don't have enough of this fabric to cut out any more straps and do it right. I could take all these seams out and put my interfacing in there, but since this was a thick fabric, I'm just gonna try and get by and see if I can just use it like that. So anyways, you were supposed to put the interfacing in there before you folded it over and sewed it. Okay, hopefully from this point on I can do it right. So I need to go ahead. Now in the video, that lady had thin iron-on interfacing, and she put a piece on each piece of fabric she had. Okay, that's one thing we're doing a little different. We have thick interfacing, and we're just having one piece in between two pieces of fabric because it's thick. So it will feel the same as hers. She had thin on each piece of fabric, and we just have thick in between two. Okay, so that's a piece of interfacing on the back of my front piece. So I'm just going to tape it on there. You can go ahead and sew it on. And if you younger ones, or if you know, this is going to be kind of bulky. So if you anticipate any type of problem, just go ahead and eliminate your problem by just sewing very close to the edge. Well, okay, let's say we normally make a 1/2 inch seam, so sew it about 1/4 inch from the edge of your fabric and just attach your interfacing to this front piece of fabric. And get that go ahead and done out of the way. Okay, I'm taping mine on there. I'm just doing like a couple pieces on the long side. Keep it from moving or shifting. And then one piece on the short side here, just to keep it stable and not sliding off, because we've got a few things to stack and sew together. This is what we're fixing to do is going to be the hardest part of this whole project. So it's not hard, but anyways, it'll just kind of be bulky. Okay, so we need our strap on there. Where's my chalk? And my measuring tape. Here it is. So we're going to measure over, let's see, this is 19 inches wide roughly. I'm going to measure over about 5 inches from the side and attach my strap. So you take one of your straps, and you want the if you did it like I did, to where one side doesn't quite meet the other side, you're gonna put that's gonna be facing up. In other words, you're gonna put the good side of the strap to the good side of this. Okay, so we're gonna put that there. Where's me a pin? And this is thick and bulky, so you want to pin this. Don't depend on tape to keep it in place, and you can just pin it kind of back down here away from the edge so that you don't have to worry with it sliding around. Okay, and then make sure this doesn't get turned. Make sure the same side is turned up all the way around. And I'm at my other mark that's 5 inches from the edge. Okay, Now I just want to put a few stitches into this to hold it secure. Okay, the next thing I do after I stitch that on is I take one of my zipper panels and I'm going to put it face down to where good sides of the fabric are together. Now, you probably won't have this, but I actually had a fabric that has a seam on it, so it has an up and down. And when this is opened, it's going to be opened like this. So I need to make sure that when I sew it on, you know, the pattern will be facing up. So if you have a pattern that has an up and down, you will have to do that. Now, I need a piece of my, we only have 2 pieces of interfacing for our zipper panel, and we're going to go ahead and attach it now. Okay, so see, that's like several layers of things we're sewing through there, but this is the main part in making this. And we're going to do this twice. I'm going to do it for this panel, and then I'm going to do it for the other panel, and we're halfway done. Okay, let's just sew that on real quick. Sewing through everything in about a 1/2 inch. Whoops, still got it on zigzag. I need back to my straight stitch. Stitch length at a 4 as long as it'll go, and my stitch width back at 0. So I just want to sew in a straight line now. I'm about a 1/2 inch away from the edge of the fabric. If you have trouble with our projects we've been making and you open it up and you've got like, you didn't catch all of it, or you've got seams short, just make a bigger stitch. Just get used to doing a 1/2 inch seam, if that, you know, works better. And I know I told y'all I have a tendency to do a 3/8 seam, but just go ahead and do a 1/2 inch so that you don't have to go back and okay, now those straps are going to be holding all the weight of this bag. So I should have back stitched when I went across them. I should have back stitched a few back across them to make them strong, but I forgot, so I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to go over where that handle is attached and I'm going to back stitch. Like I said, that's where all the weight of the purse is going to be, and you know how it totally ruins a purse. Everything's fine, and then your handle comes off. So right there's where the handle is attached. You're going to back stitch over that. Okay. Got that good and attached. Now, I told y'all that I wanted you to attach a monogrammed letter to the tote, because that was one of our assignments was, okay, so we opened it up, and here we've got, oh, get my other pen out. Thought I'd messed up again. There we go, now it'll raise up. So that's what it's going to be like. Okay, before I make the other panel, which will be done the exact same way, you have to put your monogrammed letter on there. So we need our piece of interfacing on the back of our fabric. So here's my other panel. This will be the one with the monogrammed letter. Here's my piece of interfacing. So I'm putting it on the back of it and taping it on, because the monogram letter does need to be attached through that interfacing. So you want to put the interfacing on, and like I said, you take the extra step and sew your interfacing on instead of taping it to make it nice and secure. That's actually a good thing. I'm just taping mine because I think I can hold all of it. Okay, so I've got that interface in there on the back of that. Now I've got to put my letter on. If if I had just a single letter, I would be putting it in the middle. How do I find the middle? It's simple. Just measure.
You're a cheater. So what? I used cheat codes back in the day to help me dominate. So I figured why not.
So it's roughly 18 inches wide, so in the middle would be 9 inches. What did I do with the chalk already? Okay, so gotta sew my letter on. So I'm measuring halfway. Of course, the middle is roughly 9. Now, you don't measure the whole width of this because part of this is going to be the bottom of the bag. So just measure how long it is from the top to that little cutout spot, which is roughly 14 inches. So half of 14 is 7, so I'm just going to come 7 down. So there's my middle spot. Okay, so you just have a single initial, so you just kind of put it on there, and well, you might want to fold your initial in half to see what the halfway point of the letter is, and then put it on that mark, which would make my A, B right there. However, I did letters. I'm doing this for my niece tomorrow. It's her birthday, and her name is Tana, so I actually have 5 letters to put on there. Or her name is Montana, but her nickname is Tana, and ooh, that is actually not gonna fit. Okay, so I finally decided to put Montana's name on here like that, Tana, and so I've got it taped on. I've got tape all over that holding these letters in place. So I'm gonna attach it to my panel. And that's what you need to do, is attach your monogram letter to your panel before you go any further. And I'm just sewing over the zigzag edge of my letters. I'm just sewing on top of that, attaching it to my panel with a straight stitch. Just sewing right through the zigzag. Obviously I'm using the, still the red thread on top of the red zigzag. Over, and you're not going to have as much to sew because I'm just going to sew one letter on and then I'll turn it off, and that's going to wad up, so I'm actually going to go backwards right here to keep from having to turn that big old fat panel. Going around the A. I've got a lot of letters to do, don't I? Okay, our next step is to take our lining and put our zipper panel top edge on it and sew it on. Now there's no interfacing or anything on the lining because we have that one thick piece on that we put on the outer piece. And if you forgot, then you can put your interfacing on at this point. Doesn't matter whether it's attached to the back piece, the lining, or the front piece, because they're going to be sandwiched together, so that's not a huge deal. Okay, so I sewed my zipper panel on. Oh, when am I out of thread? 2 bobbins I've went through. Looks like this has got some blue underneath it. Maybe that'll be enough to finish me up. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we've got our 2 pieces sewed together. Now, I'm going to take the back here, and I want my seam pushed down on to the big piece. And I'm going to top stitch right along there, and that's going to hold my seam down. So I'm folding my seam under it. Now in the video, the lady tells you to press it open. I never press mine open. I always fold them, push them down to the same side when I top stitch. I've never understood really why you press it open unless you're top stitching both sides. Otherwise the other one's just loose. But anyways, so now I top stitch that, see, so I've got my, see, it's sewed down in the back, and I did that with all pieces. So all of your pieces you had cut out should all now be used. We've got our lining and our zipper panel on there. Ouch. And then here we've got the back piece with the strap and the top zipper panel, and then I also have top stitched it. I don't know if you can see or not on the back here, and once it, now this one definitely, you definitely want to make sure you push your seam down and top stitch, because obviously your where's my handle sticking out there? Well, I mean, the lady explained it in the video better. Your handle there is the thick part, and it definitely needs to be pointing down, because when you're holding it, obviously it's pointing down. If you sew it up, that's always going to be a pressure point right there. And so here's my front piece where I sewed on my monogram letters, and I did her whole name, not just one in the middle. So there's my front piece. Now we're ready to attach the zipper and put everything together. Okay, so we're going to put the zipper on, and so with a good side facing up, we're going to put the zipper, the good side of the zipper, the part with the head, the zipper head, we're going to put it face down. So the good side of the zipper faces the good side of the fabric. And we put it up to the edge of the edge of the zipper, up to the edge of the bag. Okay, and I'm going to try taping that on instead of pinning it on, because, well, let me see if I can pin it. Yeah, and I'll just have to remove the front. So really pretty much what we're going to do now is we're going to do exactly what we did with our zippered pouch. That's how come you need to have your zippered pouch completed, is because this is going to be a very familiar step to you if you've done your zippered pouch. Okay. So I'm going to unzip my zipper because I'm going to sew it on this side, and so that head's going to immediately be in my way. And I think, well, I got enough red. I'll just continue on. Ooh, I got to put my zipper foot on. So that's what y'all need to do, is put your zipper foot on. We need our zipper foot for this step. So where is mine? Here it is. So your zipper foot, everybody used it for the zippered pouch, looks like that. It could be plastic or metal. And since my zipper is on this side, then I'll move it over to where the needle is closest to the zipper teeth. If you were sewing it this way, then we would move this over to where the needle was closest to the zipper teeth. Now you don't want to get the needle super close to the zipper teeth, because it actually hinders with the zipping and unzipping. So I'm just but I mean, obviously it's got to catch the zipper, so I'm just sort of sewing in the middle of my zipper space. The fabric that's on the side of the zipper, I'm just kind of in the middle of it. And I've already pulled my thread out. Okay, what's wrong, buddy? Okay, so there we go. Yeah, on the zippered pouch, I sewed really close to the zipper teeth, and that ended up being aggravating. I didn't like that, so. Okay, now I'm going to zip it back up to get the head past my needle. And so now I shouldn't have to stop for anything else. I should be able to just keep going. I mean, some people like to get close to the zipper teeth because that's less of the zipper showing when you turn it right side out. So I mean, you can get as close as you want, you know. You can't get so close that the zipper won't work, but if you only want your zipper teeth showing when you turn your piece right side out, then you know you might want to get closer. So this is about how far away I got from my zipper teeth. So when I open it up, that's how much is going to be showing. So quite a bit of fabric there. So it's just whichever you prefer. Okay, now on our zippered pouch, we did both of the outside pieces first, and then we went and put the lining on. But I'm going to see if this is a little less confusing. Okay, you want to put your lining on. Get your piece of lining and sandwich it down on top of that zipper that we just attached. So we're sewing on the same side. So the good sides of this fabric are facing each other. See, we've got the lining is facing the outside piece. Okay. So, and we can turn it over this way. I'd noticed that she said that. Guess I'll pin it on. You know what? I think I'm going to tape it on. That lady that did the zippered tote, she's got us doing something different using tape. I mean the zippered pouch. But you know how I was always leaving pins and stuff and forgetting them and poking myself, and so this tape, I just sew right across it and then just pull it off when I'm done. Okay, so now I've got that put on there, and you want the sides lined up when you put this on. You do want your sides lined up. Make sure that your strap is not up here and getting sewed on. Okay, now we're going to follow our seam that we just made. We're going to follow that so that our stitching is exactly in the same spot as it was before. So there, we've got one side of the zipper sandwiched, or I guess you could say sandwiched between the front and a lining, an outside piece and a lining. Okay, so but let's go ahead and put these other two panels on. Okay, so we've got our good side facing up. We want the good side of our zipper, the side with the piece, we want it face down on our outside panel. Okay. We're going to sew that on. Might have to put a pin because all this is getting really heavy and starting to slide on me now. I got several pieces here that are attached to one another. Okay, so if we go ahead and get this started. Oh, come on. Sometimes I feel like I have the worst sewing machine in the world about wadding up. Okay, yeah, this is definitely stiff and kind of bulky now, so you may want to put you some pins in. The tape may not be strong enough now because we've got these two pieces attached to it and then this piece, and these have the interfacing in them, so it's very stiff and wanting to slide on me. So to keep it in place, I'm having to put pins. Zipper head past it. Alright. Now, okay, so it's like this. We've got the side that we did first, with that side sandwiched on, and then we put the zipper face down on the good side, and now, so we got three pieces right there. Now we're sandwiching this last piece of lining on top of right where we just sewed, and we want to follow that exact seam. So what I could do is well, I guess what I will have to do to follow that exact seam is I will have to, now let's see, this one I might can tape because it's just the lining and it's not heavy and it's not going to fight me. So let me just try, and the others are all attached together, so they should be stable. So let me just try taping this on top here and then turning it over so that I can follow that seam. And rather than lining it up to the end of the zipper, make sure you have it lined up to the edge of your fabric. Because I have a tendency to let a little bit of my zipper overhang, and then I'll forget, and then the next piece I attach, I put the zipper, I put the fabric all the way to the end, and then when I open it up. But if you do, it's not going to be, you're only talking, you may be a 1/4 inch off, and we can easily hide that in a seam and then trim off the excess. So don't take it apart if you don't have your edges perfectly matched. Like I said, that would be, you just make a wider seam. Definitely not a huge deal, so don't spaz out about that. Okay, so I'm following my old seam here. Ooh, I got really close to the edge there. I think you're going to sew it a little closer. There we go. Okay, so that's what you should have. It's sandwiched two sides. Well, let me open it up here. And the lining and the outside is on one side of the zipper with the interfacing, and on the other you've got lining, interfacing, and outer piece. So it would look kind of like this with it opened up. Now what we have to do is put like sides together. And this is what I was trying to determine when I'm supposed to top stitch it. And yeah, I think I would have had to have waited. I have to check that and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're to this point where this is kind of what we have. We got our lining and interfacing and top piece on this side, and on this side we have the same thing with the zipper in the middle. Now on our zippered pouch, at this point we top stitched it right here beside each side of the zipper, and I really like that. I like top stitching. To me, it's a nice detailed thing when you make something that makes it less look homemade. And I've been torn about whether or not to do it. I actually top stitched, took it back out. I'm gonna try. The lady who designed this project, she does not top stitch there. She irons it down instead. Because I just hate that puffy, bulky look when you join things. And if it's not top stitched, it's fighting to push out. But I know why she didn't. On her zippered pouch, let me get on the ones we made. You see right here in the corners how it has that bulky part. And that is because we top stitched, which held the two pieces of fabric together before we turned the right sides together and sewed this bottom part together. So that made this further apart right here. Granted, yes, you top stitch pretty close. But I mean, even and I know Amy commented on that little bulky spot that you know, that was bugging her. But on a little pouch, you know, I guess it didn't seem like that big of a deal. Here's the one I made in class. You see the little bulk. And the lady that done this purse, this tote, I guess that's what she's trying to avoid, is she's wanting a neater look there at the top. So I'm going to try doing what she said and ironing that. Hopefully that will bend that interfacing enough. I don't know, because we have really thick interfacing and she had the thin ironable kind. So when she ironed hers, then it probably, you know, like folded and melded to itself. And I don't know if this thick is going to do that or not, but I'm going to try. We're going to try that. We're going to try to do this project without top stitching it along the zipper there. Sorry, I hit the camera. So I'm going to try, I've got my little steamer thing here, and I'm going to try pulling that down. I'm using the steam option to get it nice and hot and see if that will. And I've got a metal teeth zipper, so I'm not having to worry about this. But if you have a plastic teeth zipper, like she mentioned in the video, you're gonna have to be careful not to get too close to your zipper or you could melt it. So I don't know, it is going down some, but not as good as top stitching would do. Try turning it over, and the top doesn't really need it as much. If I had it to do over, what I would have done is I would have put the two top pieces on by themselves first, the way the lady did with the zippered pouch, and then I would have top stitched our top piece down before we put the let's see, is that even possible, before we put the lining piece on the back, because our interfacing was in the top part, so as long as that was folded and top stitched down, that would have helped with the bulk. But I'm not really even sure if that would have been possible, since we didn't have our, no, I don't guess it would have been. You can't do that because you didn't have your back piece on. I don't know, I guess there's no way around that. So let's just go to the next step. Okay, we want to unzip our thing at least halfway. And then we're going to put like sides together. So our two outer pieces together. And we're going to put our lining together. Okay, and then y'all remember we have to leave a spot to turn it right side out, and on our purse we did it down here at the bottom. Now the lady mentioned that she doesn't like it at the bottom, she would do it on the side, and I got to thinking about that with our reversible purse. I wish we had done it at the side, because that bugs me how you can see it at the bottom, and I think it would have been less noticeable in the side seam. But this is not a reversible purse, so you're not going to see the inside. So we're just going to continue to do ours at the bottom. So we can actually leave this whole bottom piece unsewn, and then just go back. Or you can, well, here we'll sew a little bit of it. Well, we got to leave a space in the middle, about a 6-inch space in the middle for to turn it right side out. So I'm going to mark it with my chalk. Yeah, I can do more than that. Okay, so we're going to sew all the way around. We're going to pin like sides together. So right here we should not have as much bulk up here at the top as we did with the zippered pouch, since we didn't top stitch it here. But if you do have a little bit of bulk from your zipper, just remember what she said about pushing the zipper towards your lining when you sew it in. But like I said, there's no top stitch there. There's not much bulk, so it's probably not going to be that. You're not really probably going to have much of nothing to get out of your way. Okay, so just pin it together, and then we're going to sew all the way around. Do not sew your gussets. These little squares in the middle, just ignore those. Leave those alone. We got to do those after we sew it. Sew everything together. So we're sewing all the way around. Leave about a 6-inch turning space down there on the bottom of your lining. And do not sew the gussets. Alright, I'm fixing to start sewing all the way around, and I will be right back. Okay, so now we're ready to do our gussets. And I tried to pin everything beforehand and match it up really good and everything, but I still ended up with one out of all four corners, 3 of them matched perfectly. And this one ended up being off, as you can see, on this side. So what I'm going to do is just trim the part that's sticking out. I'm going to trim it because we sort of got to have matching spots right there to make your gussets. So I just trimmed off that excess that was, you know, you don't want to cut back into your seam. You don't want to cut back into your seam, and you don't really want it to be a lot bigger than the other ones. But anyways, I just trimmed it up there. So now we take our gussets and we open it up and mash it flat like the lady showed in her video. And kind of work it back there, matching the seams, keeping your seams. So I've got it opened up like that. And I'm trying to think what project, I'm thinking we did this before. What did we do this on? Anyways, I think it was the option for when we did the storage pouch, and I showed y'all the option of making that a book bag to where you would just sew across the corner. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to sew across this corner. And I'm going to go pretty far back. We've got our seams lined up. And this is going to be bulky, the side that has the interfacing on it. So I'm going to pin it. Now when I do the one over there with my lining, I probably won't have to. Now this lady found it very important for everything to match up. So that's why she had things that she done a little bit different. Is she really likes her corners and everything being nice and crisp. Now y'all know that's not as big of a deal to me, but I'm trying to make this look nice. So I'm just going to try to make a big wide fat seam across there. I'm not sewing at the edge. I'm going back. Well, let's measure it and I'll mark it, and then I'll know exactly how far back my needle is from the edge. Okay, my needle is a full 1/2 inch back from the edge. So you could measure 1/2 inch and mark you a line across, and then you would know exactly what for your needle to follow. Kind of like this. You could do it kind of like this. I'm measuring 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Now, what that does is, the farther back you sew, the bigger the bottom of your bag is. And I'm going to open my seams, kind of like she said, you know. Try to do that as nice and neat as I can. So I'm making me a line there. So I made me a line, and now I've got something easy to know to sew across. At least 1/2 inch. If you want the bottom of your bag to be wider, you can go back 3/4 of an inch. And so, you know, I don't think you could go back a full inch, but you might could. So 1/2 inch to 3/4 from the edge. Mark your line and then just sew along it. Okay, I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you. Let's see if this will zoom in. Does it have a zoom option? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure it out, I don't guess. Is that? Oh, I did. I figured it out. I have a zoom. Alright, there we go. Go to zoom in. I'll be doing one of these so that y'all understand what we're talking about. So I'm just sewing across on my Make sure you do use some back stitching there, because that's a forced corner, so it's, you know, gonna wanna. And then you can take it and sort of trim half of it off so that you've got, you know, not very far from your seam. So now I'm gonna do that to all 4 corners. Okay, we're down to the fun part, or to me the fun part. We're sewed all the way around. We've got our gussets done right here. All of these are opened up and sewed across on all the corners. And now I'm gonna stick my hand in here and start turning it right side out. That's why we had to leave the zipper halfway unzipped. If you didn't, then you can reach in there and unzip it so that you can get it to, so it always looks, we start turning it right side out. We wad it up. All that ironing we done seems to be for nothing. Okay, first we're gonna pull it out like this. I'm just trying to hurry up and do it so that it doesn't get too wrinkly. And you can, don't worry about your lining right now, because the lining's fixing to go back down in there. But go ahead and put your hand back in that hole and push out your, hopefully our nice pointy gussets that we made. Let me see if my seams lined up. They're a little bit off. Mine are about an 1/8 inch off, so the lady wouldn't be happy with me. But anyways, I noticed on one of the videos, the lady said she remembered her sewing teacher told her, said not everybody can sew, but everybody can cut strings. In other words, there's no excuse for leaving strings. I was like, oh well, these poor girls, their teacher ain't teaching them nothing like that, because I leave strings everywhere and do all kinds of sloppy stuff. But I still say it's better to have a usable piece than to stop because you can't get it perfect and have nothing. So, alright, so we've got it turned. I've got my 2 corners pushed out, so let's close up this opening in the lining and then poke it down in there, and we are done. So we've done this a bunch of times. Y'all know how to do that. Just turn it in, make a little seam there, and top stitch it closed. If my iron was still hot, I would iron it real quick, and that way it wouldn't fight me. It would have a nice sharp crease there, but I think I'm gonna be able to hold it pretty good. It is a very, if you've got something that's only like 3 or 4 inches across, it's easy to hold with your hand. But when you've got something 6 or 8 inches wide opening, it'll roll out on you. It's kind of hard to hold it. So you can pin it, or you can iron it, or you can do like me and just do a little ways and then make sure your fold is in there. Hold it 2 or 3 inches back. So a little further, and then check it. Fold it in again until you get all the way across. So there. I top stitched that little opening. Now I'm ready to push my lining down in my bag, and I've got my finished project. Let's see what this looks like. Push out the top corner. Oh yeah, let's see how that did about the zipper there, because that was really something that bugged me, is not being able to top stitch that down. Well, it still folds in, but you know, not as much as it would have. But you know what? See, that lady wanted it nice and flat, but I can't stand the way something puffs. I think I'm going to top stitch mine now. I've got it unzipped, and I'm just going to hold that fold in there. See how I'm doing right here? I've just got it unzipped all the way, and I'm pushing that down where it's all puffy, and I'm just going to go all the way around and top stitch that down, because I want that. Now, you don't have to do this because I can already know that when you get to the corners, it's not going to be perfectly flat, and so I'm probably going to have a little bit of a wadded up mess when I get to the corner. This one's okay because this is the opening of my zipper, so it'll open up all the way. Pushing that, pulling that lining so it'll lay flat. Yeah, I think when I make the next one, see right there, I don't really know what I'm going to do because that's as far as the zipper will open, so I've got a pucker there, so I don't know. I guess I'll just sew across it. It's going to make a bad place. I don't really know what I should do there. Alright, let's see what we've got. Alright, here's our finished piece. I'm pushing the lining down there in the corners. Yay! Isn't that awesome? That's a cool tote bag. And I'll bring that and y'all get to show it Monday. I mean, it would be even more perfect if we had some nice stiff handles. You see how floppy these are? But they're usable, so will I ever get, I get worse, not better as I do projects. Will I ever get to where I can not mess up on a project? Alright, we'll see y'all Monday.